You know that specific, frustrating sensation of the hard belly paunch that just won't go away, regardless of how many salads you eat or how many calories you track. It feels different than normal weight. It's stubborn, tight, and seemingly permanent. Or perhaps you experience the dawn phenomenon, that strange metabolic glitch where you wake up between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. with high blood sugar and a shot of unexplained anxiety because your liver is dumping glucose into your bloodstream while you sleep. You might notice your face looking puffy in the morning, a crushing energy crash after lunch, or even tiny red lines on your lower legs, silent distress signals from your circulatory system indicating that your blood is becoming too thick for your vessels to handle. The mainstream fitness industry tells you the solution is simple: energy in, energy out. They say you just need to cut more calories and hit the gym harder. But the latest research reveals this is a dangerous metabolic myth. For many, jumping into high-intensity exercise is actually a trap. It can trigger a systemic stress response and even cause leaky gut if your body isn't metabolically prepared for the strain. Even worse is the dirty keto trap, relying on processed bars and shakes filled with preservatives and inflammatory oils that disrupt the very hormones, like insulin and leptin, that you are desperately trying to fix. Your inability to lose that hard belly fat isn't a failure of willpower. It is a mechanical failure in your muscle cells that we call the stuck zipper. Your metabolism isn't broken, it's just locked. Today we are going to act as biological detectives to show you how a specific timing of movement, not the intensity of it, can manually unlock your cells, reverse silent liver damage, and turn you from a sugar store into a fat burner. To truly understand how to fix this, we have to look deep inside your biological engine. The primary site for burning sugar in your body isn't actually your stomach or your brain. It's your skeletal muscle. Think of your muscles as the ultimate disposal site for glucose. In a healthy body, your muscle cells act like a hungry sponge, soaking up sugar from your blood to use as fuel. Usually, this process requires a master key called insulin. But here is the problem. A staggering 88% of American adults are currently suffering from a stuck zipper where that insulin key no longer works. This is the hallmark of insulin resistance, and it is the hidden reason your body refuses to let go of fat. Let's visualize the sick state of your metabolism. Imagine your muscle cell as a dry, sealed gray sponge. Deep inside the center of that sponge, there are tiny doors known as GLUT4 vesicles. In a perfectly functioning body, these doors should fly to the surface the moment you eat to let sugar in. But when you are insulin resistant, those doors are physically trapped near the nucleus of the cell, paralyzed and unable to move. Imagine insulin arriving at the cell wall like a rusty, bent key trying to turn a jammed, dirty lock. It fails. Because the doors won't open, sugar molecules, visualize them as glowing orange spheres, start piling up in your bloodstream. Your blood begins to turn from a life-giving fluid into a thick, sluggish, toxic syrup that inflames everything it touches. But here is the aha moment of the transformation. There is a secondary backdoor to this engine called the contraction-dependent pathway. This is a separate biological circuit that does not require insulin to function. When you move, specifically through the rhythmic contraction of walking, your muscle cells change their internal chemistry. This movement shifts the ratio of energy molecules, specifically the AMP to ATP ratio, which activates a master metabolic sensor called AMPK. This is your body's internal green light for energy production. As you start to walk, visualize a giant hand reaching in and squeezing that dry gray sponge. This physical squeeze triggers the green AMPK spark. Suddenly, those trapped GLUT4 doors detach from the center of the cell and float rapidly to the outer edge, bypassing the broken insulin lock entirely. The cell wall transforms into an open sponge with thousands of glowing portals. Those orange sugar spheres are sucked out of your blood and into the muscle instantly. You are literally clearing the toxic syrup from your veins and lowering your blood sugar manually, without needing a single drop of effective insulin. If you don't engage this manual override, the damage accumulates in total silence. When sugar has nowhere to go, your liver is forced to process the overflow, turning that excess energy into fat stored inside the liver itself. This is the beginning of metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease. Research indicates that it takes an average of 14 years for this silent fat to progress to the first stage of liver fibrosis or scarring. You won't feel a thing, there is no pain. However, once inflammation, a state called MASH, sets in, that timeline accelerates aggressively. The scarring process speeds up to just 7 years per stage, racing towards cirrhosis while you simply feel puffy or tired. The scientific authority behind this muscle sponge mechanism is undeniable. In pivotal studies utilizing live imaging of muscle fibers, researchers confirmed that in a resting state, the surface presence of these glucose stores was at a basal level of 0%. The sponge was effectively sealed shut. However, after just 15 minutes of simple contraction, just 15 minutes of walking, the presence of these doors on the cell surface increased by over 200%. Your body literally reorganizes its cellular structure to feed itself from your bloodstream, but only if you provide the mechanical signal it's waiting for. The surprising aha moment we've uncovered as biological detectives is that your daily step count and your intestinal lining are physically, chemically, and neurologically linked through the gut-brain metabolic axis. You likely think of your digestion and your leg muscles as two entirely separate systems, but in reality, they are locked in a constant, high-stakes conversation. Sedentary living, the simple act of sitting for hours after you eat, is a primary contributor to leaky gut. This isn't just a digestive issue, it is a metabolic catastrophe where the tight junctions, the microscopic mortar between the cells of your intestinal wall, begin to loosen and pull apart, creating a gateway for toxins. This creates a disastrous biological domino effect that effectively locks your fat cells shut and throws away the key. Let's walk through the chain reaction step by step. Step 1 is the root cause: sedentary eating. When you consume a meal and remain stationary, your gut bacteria diversity begins to stagnate. Without the physical movement of your body to stimulate blood flow to the digestive tract, a process known as splanchnic perfusion, the production of short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs like butyrate, drops significantly. Think of these SCFAs as the biological oil that keeps your metabolic zipper moving smoothly. In step 2, the transmission of the problem begins. Without those SCFAs to nourish the barrier, the zipper of your gut wall fails. The proteins that hold your gut together, known as claudins and agglutins, lose their grip. This leads to step 3, systemic failure. Toxic fragments of bacteria known as lipopolysaccharides, or LPs, leak through these gaps and cross directly into your bloodstream. Your body perceives this as a full-scale biological invasion. To protect you, your body's primary longevity gene, SIRT1, is forced to drop everything. It stops its normal, vital job of burning fat and regulating energy, and instead rushes to fight this inflammation by deactivating a pro-inflammatory messenger called NF-κB. In this state of chronic low-grade internal warfare, your metabolism enters a lockdown. Your body refuses to release stored fat because it is too busy trying to survive the toxic leak coming from your own digestive system. This brings us to a massive piece of diet advice that we need to bust right now: the idea that eating 6 small meals a day boosts your metabolism. In the context of a leaky gut and insulin resistance, this is one of the most harmful things you can do. Every time you eat, you trigger a metabolic response. If your gut is leaky, eating constantly keeps the toxic leak active all day long. This never gives your SIRT1 gene a chance to go back to its primary job of burning fat. You may have also been told that exercising on an empty stomach will cause your body to burn muscle for fuel. The science proves the exact opposite. Clinical research shows that acute sessions of fasted exercise, like a brisk morning walk, do not increase your hunger or your total calorie intake for the day. Instead, walking in a fasted state actually improves the sensitivity of your satiety hormones, specifically GLP-1 and PYY. By walking before you eat, you are priming your metabolic flexibility and teaching your brain to better hear the fullness signals later in the evening. You aren't destroying your muscle. You are clearing the path for it to finally function as the muscle sponge it was designed to be. When you move, you are signals to your body that the environment is safe, zipping your gut lining back together and telling your longevity genes that it is finally time to release the stored energy in your fat cells. Now that we have identified the stuck zipper in your cells and the toxic leak in your gut, we need to implement the muscle sponge protocol to reverse the damage. The first step is a hard pivot in what you put in your body. You must stop eating dirty keto foods immediately. These are the shelf-stable processed meats, the commercial protein shakes, and the low-carb bars filled with inflammatory seed oils and chemical preservatives. These aren't health foods, they are metabolic villains that disrupt your insulin signaling and poison your adiponectin, the hormone that tells your body to burn fat for fuel. Instead, shift to what I call good dirty foods. These are whole foods that come from the earth and require washing and preparation. Fresh greens, cruciferous vegetables, and beans. These are loaded with the prebiotic fiber your gut bacteria need to manufacture the butyrate that zips your intestinal lining back together and stabilizes your internal barrier. To manually override your insulin resistance, we are going to use the 10-minute post-meal trigger. This is the gold standard of metabolic intervention. Clinical trials have proven that a 10-minute walk taken immediately after your largest meal of the day is significantly more effective at lowering blood sugar than a 30-minute walk taken later on. By moving while the sugar is entering your bloodstream, you engage the GLUT4 transporters exactly when they are needed most, blunting the glucose spike before it can turn into fat. This simple habit acts as a mechanical vacuum for your blood sugar. Next, we address the exercise snack. If you have a desk job, your muscle sponges are drying out every minute you sit. Every 30 minutes, you must interrupt your sitting with just 2 to 5 minutes of movement, air squats, calf raises, or a quick pace around the room. This keeps the doors to your cells propped open throughout the day. To specifically kill the dawn phenomenon, you should implement a 20 to 30-minute morning fasted walk. This mops up the cortisol-induced glucose spike that happens while you sleep, resetting your system for the day ahead. To grease the gears of this biological engine, there are 2 nutrient heroes you need. First, you must prioritize magnesium and potassium. Magnesium is chemically essential to stabilize the ATP complex required for your cells to even hear the signal from insulin. If you are low on magnesium, your cellular locks remain jammed no matter how well you eat. Second, consider adding MCT oil to your routine. Unlike other fats that require a complex transport system called the carnitine shuttle, MCTs go straight to your liver to be used as immediate energy. They provide a clean fuel source that doesn't spike insulin, giving your body the energy it needs to repair itself while you are in a fasted state. By following this protocol, you aren't just losing weight, you are mechanically repairing the way your body handles energy. You are clearing the syrup from your blood, zipping up your gut, and finally allowing those muscle sponges to do their job.